Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Neil is from New England. Do you guys know that?
Wicked duck.
Yeah, surprise. Well, we're here today for another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live, an unexpected one that a few days ago we didn't know we would be doing this today. But we're here today to talk about last night's very special benefit show at the Troubadour. Also, of course, we're going to talk about the Mexico lineup announcement because there's a lot to dive into there. But it's going to be a good episode. And returning, he was here last week to talk about a show that he went to, and he was there last night. We've got Harry returning. How's it going, Harry?
I'm doing well. I'm a little tired. I've got a busy day of classes, but I'm stoked to be here, and I was super duper happy to go last night. So.
Well, thank you. Thanks for making the time in your day of classes to join us. Shout out to your professor.
Yeah, big shout out.
Cool for you coming on the pod.
Professor Buckley. Massive shout out. Yeah.
Professor Buckley. Does Professor Buckley like Goose?
She will soon.
All right, there we go. That's what I like to hear.
Exactly.
Neil, how are you today?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I was fast asleep for the entirety of this show, not even a moment awake for it. But I woke up this morning and then I had to ask myself, is this real? And that's a testament to just how interesting this show was last night. So this is some good stuff. Like, I saw a couple of things on there. I was like, that's bullshit. There's no way that's real. And turns out it was all real. So
yeah, I'd like to shout out Adam, friend of the pod. He was on last week to talk about San Diego with you, Harry. But shout out to Adam. Thank you so much for doing the setlist thread last night. And shout out to our Mixler coming in at the absolute last minute, which was crazy. But shout out to whoever was running that.
Yeah, absolute legend.
I was already in bed when the link got posted, and I was like, I'm not staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, I had already resigned myself. I was like, someone else is doing the set list. We're good. But yeah, similar to you, Neil, I woke up this morning and I turned on my phone and I saw War Pigs with Will Forte. I was like, what? Because there had been, LA. Yeah, there had been, because of the size of the venue and just the way it was laid out, a couple people got pictures of the set list before the show, like lying on the thing. And Garrett had sent it to me, of course, as we all know. Garrett likes to find out songs before they happen. But he was like, I think I can read War Pigs on there. I was like, no, that says White Lights. Like, no way it says War Pigs on the set list. I woke up this morning and they played War Pigs. But anyway, we'll get to that. Harry, talk us through, when this show was announced through getting there.
Oh, we want to know everything.
Long pre-show vibe. This is unique.
Okay.
Emotional roller coaster for sure, guys. Because at first I was like, this is insane. Like, I have to go. Hands down. Troubadour, iconic LA venue. To see Goose in a room with 500, I was like, this is going to be one to tell the grandkids about. However, I was like, I have already, I just, like last week, I went to 4 concerts. I was like, I don't know. Like, this is a lot of money I've been dropping. And I was like, if I go to this show, I'm going to have to cut others out of the October agenda. And hopefully it'll even be in the price range. So I was like, this is, at least $100 that I'm not having planned on spent, which is a lot for me at this point. So I was like, shoot. But I was like, I got to do it. So then it was just like, got to get the ticket, and I wasn't feeling optimistic. And I didn't really have anybody to go with, and like the details coordinated weirdly. So I was like, okay, I'm just getting one ticket if it works out. And I was 1,500 in the queue. Troubadour seats 500. And I'm guessing that they had already reserved a good amount of tickets for special folks. And I was like, screwed. But my girlfriend, absolutely, clutch, my hero. She was like 90 in the queue. She couldn't make it for the show. She's a big Goose fan. So she was like, big props to her, because like she was feeling the FOMO, but she still got me a ticket. And I was like, shoot, I'm doing it. I'm skipping my Tuesday night class. I'm going to see Goose at the Troubadour. Just dropped 120. It doesn't matter though. It's like, we're doing it. So then flash forward to yesterday, drove over pretty early, got in line like a little before 4, and yeah, vibes were swell. I would say that I was like, maybe 15 to 20 in line. And then of course, by the time, they started letting people in, it was like 60 in line. And I was, that always happens, right? Like more people join in front of you. But I was kind of thinking like maybe the 2-ticket limit, more exclusive show. Not everybody's crew is going to roll up, but it was just normal. So a little bit of a bummer there, but it was chill. It was fine. And yeah, no, good pre-show vibes. And thank you again, Anya, for the ticket. My
There you
hero.
go. Shout out to Anya. Yeah, it was cool seeing the pictures of people getting in, also looking at the gear that the band was playing with, because obviously all their gear is on its way to Memphis right now for the Mempho Fest on Friday. And this seemed like this came together pretty last minute. Like this doesn't seem like something that like, they booked the tour and they're like, oh, we're going to do a last minute announcement of this show. It seemed like it even just came together, a few weeks ago. Or something like that. So they had pretty much all backline stuff except for like obviously guitar, a couple of pedal
Pedals.
boards. But Peter was back to, classic pared down rig, Nord stage, clav, and Nord synth coming back. First time we've seen that guy in the rig since Holmdel. Rick down to 1 pedal board instead of 3. He only had like 5 reverb pedals instead of 12.
The bare minimum amount of reverb.
Bare minimum.
And
no
delay.
Kit,
yeah.
No kit for Jeb. I don't even think, did Jeb have a gong? I don't even think Jeb
no
had a
gong. He was
No
gong.
gongs.
Or it was all bongos, really.
It was they are all bongos.
There was he had a drum and a cymbal as well, like a snare and a cymbal. So he had limited kit that wasn't quite you couldn't quite see it, but he utilized that actually pretty often.
Yeah, he definitely had the
still had his
timbali
guitar,
last
though.
night. I could hear that on some stuff. So
Yeah. It was just cool to see them, on such a small stage, but taking up so much less space on a small stage than they normally would, like cramming themselves onto a little one. Thinking about like the Fox Theater show in Boulder in 2022, which was like similar size venue, a little bit bigger, but just seeing how they were all just like bunched in, or in Europe on some of those stages where they're just like zero space because they're packing in as much gear as they possibly can. And at this one, it was like, they just didn't have a lot of gear. So it was really, really crazy to see those pictures. And, it looked like, the pictures you were posting and everyone else we knew that was there. It was just like so much excitement going into it. So that was really cool.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Small venue Goose.
Small
And
venue
you
Goose.
you don't have to stick around for the pigeon show after. I mean, this is it took 4 years to get this, but there you go.
Back
Goose
to
at
the Troubadour. Yeah, that is a good point that they had played at the Troubadour once before opening for Pigeons in 2020.
Twice.
2 times.
Twice? They did 2
Twice.
nights?
Yep.
2 nights there. Yeah.
2 nights at the
Which is
Troubadour.
a head scratcher. Hey, balloons.
What,
Like
why
you would think they would play a
2
larger
nights?
venue rather than 2 nights of the same venue at 500 cap. I don't know. Who knows?
Hey man, we didn't book Pigeons 2020 tour.
Nope.
So let's dive into the show here. We get things started. First 4 songs: Drive, All I Need, Indian River, Cantaloupe Island. Harry.
Yeah. The excitement was super high. So everybody, that was kind of the vibe, at least for the start of the show. Everybody just super stoked to be there. They open up with Drive. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is one of the only songs left over, from the California run that they hadn't done. And I was super stoked to hear it. And it was really short. It was like insanely, is this the shortest Drive they've ever done? Like,
No, because unfortunately they have not jammed Drive a number of other times.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't jam the heck out of Drive, if that sentence makes any sense at all, for like the first half of 2023. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that, but I was like so short. But there's one point, the lighting rig was interesting because it was essentially like two kind of like strips of light plus like whatever the house lights were. And there's just this crazy strobe at one point during Drive, which was like so insane being that close. But there's this crazy strobe where it's like in a horror movie, they do the strobe light like as the villain gets closer, as they're like walking towards the victim and it's strobing. And that was like how it felt. I was like 10 feet from Rick and, the horror strobe. So that was like the best part of Drive for me. then All I Need, yeah, there's like a little Rick peak. Peter with a nice piano jam. Trevor was really playing very deep. It's very dark. There's a quick little major jam, and then it quickly went into like this minor jam where Rick was like, for all the guitarists out there, Rick was pivoting on double stops a lot, where they like get into a little groove and just Rick would go back to a double stop and then do some fill in licks and then go back to a double stop. And he kind of had like the synth effect like that, but kind of the lighter one. Like he's got a real fat one, and then he's got the kind of lighter one. He had the lighter one going there.
Mild sauce.
Yeah.
Sauce.
No, not mild sauce. It was fitting. It was fitting for the jam, but yeah, felt like a short All I Need. And then Indian River was cool. I hadn't seen any of these 3 songs before, actually.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so to get those 3 out of the gate was really cool. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the synth arrangement. I much prefer the reggae one, which I know is now, a rarity for sure. So I wasn't expecting anything from that, but I was happy that they didn't like linger around in the synth area for too long. Peter quickly switched into piano, like right after they were done running through the song for the jam and doing some like really bright upbeat piano. And then that turned into clav, which was cool. And Rick was just shredding over it. And when Peter went into the clav, that turned into Cantaloupe Island. I'm a very big Herbie Hancock fan. Actually, just saw him a couple months ago doing the Headhunt show at the Hollywood Bowl, which was
Lucky.
ridiculously good. Like, yeah, it's one of the pros of being in LA. But I was stoked because Cantaloupe Island, that, I feel like that's a cover that's not even like in the forefront of my brain when I'm thinking about Goose covers and whatnot. So then to have them go into that like very serendipitously, I was like, heck yeah, and everybody was jamming hard on that. So
Yeah, that one firmly fits into the catalog of songs that Rick had to learn for like a performance at Berkeley to
right,
get through a class,
Yeah.
and then just threw it in the repertoire. Why not?
as
Well,
they should.
That's my theory.
Well,
at least.
that was always funny because you can tell like they all knew it from back in the day, because when they busted it out in Bozeman after not playing it for 3.5 years, like it was a complete audible out of Indian River. Like Rick just started playing it and they were all like, okay, I guess we're doing Cantaloupe Island here, and they all knew it.
Yeah, they probably
so-
sound check it a bunch. That's like got to be like a fun one to sound check, right? Like,
True.
kind of seen a sound check or two where they do some interesting stuff. Like they did the all blues at Northlands
right, the Schofield
that a lot of
Yeah,
folks
yeah.
caught, which was pretty dope. But
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue here. We get some nice little bit of jamming in Born coming
Yes.
up next. Is this the longest song of the night? I think it was the longest song of the night.
yeah, pretty
just short of
sure.
20. But like, again, mostly just sticking to the 2001 jam here. But last few minutes, nice little floaty major key pivot. But Harry, what did you think of this Born?
Yeah, I loved Born. Might be Born and Dripfield. Those are like my 2 favorite Goose songs. So I was super pleased to hear Born. And on the initial solo, when it's still very much Born, Rick he played such a gentle solo, and I was like, wow, this is really mature. He wasn't doing all the fretboard fireworks, as you might say. But he was just playing very sensitive notes, and I was like, this is one of his better solos on like Born, that just the track Born without like any of the jam. I was like, that is definitely one of his better solos. Like he just really played stuff that suited the song really well without like any moment of shreddiness, just really tasteful note choice. And that was one that like the whole crowd was super into. I mean, the crowd was awesome because, as you might expect, it was like a lot of diehards. So that was one that was just like everybody was like, oh my God, like we're getting Born. And just to feel it that close, it was really amazing. And that was kind of like one where you turn around and you're like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I'm witnessing this. So that was awesome. In terms of the 2001 jam, I don't love it with Born. I don't know if that's a popularly expressed opinion, but I just think it doesn't quite fit. However, like, it's an awesome jam, but also it's like, if you guys are gonna do the jam, just play the freaking 2001 and then do the jam, you know? And I get
Yeah.
that they're not wanting to do
We're
the
on board.
fish, yeah, the fish mirroring thing, but it's like, if you guys are playing the jam, play the freaking song.
And they have a version of Born with a better jam too, the slower
I know
one.
there is a version out there that does exist. That was going to be my question: was there
yeah.
the sing along for it?
Well, I mean,
And something-
you
Yeah.
could hear that on the Mixler. It was
Yeah.
I
loud.
did. You never could really trust that though. You gotta, gotta.
No,
get the
it was-
opinion of
That's
the
it
fair.
was
people in the
It could just
room.
be like your Mixler is next to me, and it sounds.
Or it was
like
just like,
everyone's
yeah,
singing
next to
loudly.
Bert, and Bert's just belting that shit out.
Shout
and,
out, friend of the
shout out
pod,
Bert.
Bert Kreischer.
Yeah, friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod,
Oh,
Bert
man.
Kreischer. Speaking of friends of the pod,
Oh, hey,
Matt.
Oh, it's Matt.
Hey
Nice to
guys,
drop
how you
in.
doing?
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
How are you?
It's been a long few weeks, but I'm feeling great now. Yeah,
You're alive. You're here.
yeah,
You ready?
doing okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. How did you feel about last night?
Troubadour
going
is
in.
a fantastic venue. I've never been there. You know, there was a lot of excitement. I thought it was going to be completely overpacked. It was, packed, but nothing too crazy. I maybe Europe kind of changed me.
You can deal
for the
with
better.
sardines. Yeah.
And I mean, the sound in the venue and Loomis in general made this place pop. So, it's great.
That's awesome. I figure that that can be kind of tough sometimes with smaller venues, and also him not having his full gear that he normally has for sound. But it's good to hear that it was great. Well, do you guys have any thoughts on Seekers, or can we talk about this sit-in?
I think we have to talk about the sit-in. That's like 90% of the words people are going to say about this show.
Yeah.
Other than a couple things that happened in the second half here, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with you here, Matt. What was going through your head when they brought Will Forte on stage and then started War Pigs?
So we saw the third or fourth mic on the stage, and we were like, okay, someone's sitting in. And I was hoping, love Bert Kreischer, but I was like, I don't need another Jimmy Fallon situation. And then Peter said Will Forte, and I was like, all right, SNL. I know he sings. I wonder what's going to happen. And then the opening lick happened. I was like, yes. Yes. It was amazing. I mean, he's got a good voice. He knows the lyrics. Cotter was having a blast. And the venue's so small, and Peter jumped on one of the stacks and was playing basically on top of the crowd. It was great.
That's awesome. Question before we hear from you, Harry. Did Will Forte stage dive? Because that's really the benchmark we're working with celebrity sit-ins.
No, he did.
No?
He did not. He did every time it was an instrumental or part of the song. He did dance like this with his hands.
I did see that.
I love
So
that.
that was great. Yeah.
So
Harry
he didn't fall flat on his face like mid-lyric, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really the benchmark for success with a celebrity sit-in. But
Really is. Go
ahead.
Harry, what was going through your head when they introduced Will Forte?
Yeah, I also saw the mic, and I was hoping for a musician, but they said Will Forte, and I was like, all right, this is an SNL dude. There are a couple epic digital shorts he's in, so I was like, respect, but yeah, I mean, War Pigs is like I'm a big metalhead, and that's kind of like the OG anthem in many ways. So when they just go into that first, I think it's an E chord, it's just that one chord, and it starts off really slow and heavy. It's like, oh yeah. So once they started doing it, myself and the guy behind me, we were both freaking out. We're like, fucking war pigs, you know, like, and we were like, dude, let's open a pit. But, you know, as Goose fans,
Yeah.
Open
So-
a pit at a Goose show.
yeah, exactly.
They should have
But
played
that-
Big Modern. That's how you could have gotten the
that's-
Goose fans. to
That's
open
the
pit.
real pit song. No, so it was, yeah, it just felt like a fever dream, you know. I thought Forte's vocals were a little like they were kind of silly, and they did the echo thing. And like
I heard that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like on his vocals, like it was kind of a, you know, you could tell the band wasn't taking it super seriously. Peter got up on the stack, like Matt mentioned. Hello, Matt. And yeah, just started ripping, and the new guitar definitely makes a difference. Having that humbucker really definitely makes a huge difference in his solos in general, but this was a really good example of when because yeah, you just need, like, you can't do a strat on, you know, a song like War Pigs. Like, you have to have something to cut through. You can't do those single coils. So him having the humbucker was really good. And it really showed, like, man, Peter is killing it on guitar this tour, I've just felt, but his peaks were killer. And then something that I thought was cool was, like, towards the end, you know, Rick got to jam on it a little. And as Matt mentioned, Forte was dancing, but at one point he just looked over at Rick and just watched him in awe for like 30 seconds and was like,
Right. You wonder.
Damn,
You
that
wonder
guy's
how
good.
much. You wonder how much Will Forte had heard of Goose before, and whether it was like is he friends with Bert, and Bert was like, "Hey, come to the show, and we'll get you to sing a song with the band," or
Well-
like management or someone.
Yeah, interesting thing too was after they finished, Forte said they learned that song today.
Nice.
So like it definitely seems like it was kind of a last minute ad, but
nice.
Although,
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, if you play guitar, you learned War Pigs long ago.
it's true.
And like Cotter, there's no way Cotter's not playing that song all the time. It feels like
Nectars.
that's just like in Cotter's wheelhouse, you know?
Yeah.
Just that whole era of rock and roll.
Well, speaking of Peter playing guitar, it sounded to me on the Mixlr that Peter was playing guitar for the whole tumble, which is abnormal, I guess, right now. He usually makes the switch to keys at some point. This is a pretty solid 15-minute tumble for me, but am I correct in hearing that he was on guitar the whole time?
I wish I could tell you that I stared at Peter. So my viewpoint was I was by the pole next to Trevor, so I was staring at Peter and Rick the entire time. But I'll be honest with you, a few times during the show, I closed my eyes and just moved my head a little bit. So he could have jumped down to the keys.
That?
Yeah.
What?
But no, I'm pretty sure, like with 90% certainty, that he was there the whole time.
Nice. Yeah. Harry and Matt, yeah, what did you guys think of the tumble?
I thought the tumble's good. Like, you know, it wasn't by any means the best tumble of all time, but just the energy in the room was so high. I mean, just the whole show, but especially considering coming off of the War Pigs and just the excitement of everything. So it really felt like, yeah, the band was just really feeding off the energy. Trevor was very slappy in the jam. And yeah, the rhythm section was just having a dance party. Like Cotter had this crazy driving groove that Rick was really playing off of. And at one point, you know, Rick was kind of playing around in the boxes and whatnot. And then at one point, Rick did this thing where, you know, he started playing octaves on guitar as he kept moving up the neck, and it just ended up into this like crazy shreddy peak that lasted for maybe a minute or two, and that was insane. And then it went back into the tumble. But overall, just a really solid tumble, really fun, and a great way to end the long first set.
Yeah, I mean, I love, you know, them having ample time. We heard a rumor before the show that there were going to be 3 sets, but I'm glad that they decided to just do 2 sets, you know, because 3 sets would have been like 40 or 50 minutes each.
Exactly.
And why do that? Just, you know, give an extra 25 minutes to the first set and 25 minutes to the second set. Yeah, love a long show. This is like the most songs that Goose has played in a single show.
I was just about to say that.
As long as
It's
I
like
can remember.
bananas.
Yeah. I think of like Vegas 2022 as another show where they played like 20 songs, for better or for worse. But just a lot of songs. But yeah, Matt, anything to add before we go into set break?
I was just happy that they played one more song after. I mean, War Pigs was great, but like I'm happy that they went back into a Goose tune
Yeah.
for that. And honestly, they like just in for the whole first set, you can tell how comfortable they were playing in such a tiny room. Like Cotter looked like he was like, I've been doing this since last year. So
Right.
I'm very much into this. And I don't know if you said this earlier in the pod, like Jeff in general did not sit the entire time. He had like a full percussion setup, no drum, and I think he's a standing guy moving forward. Like I know he'll go back to the kit, but like I think he's a full standing guy, and
He likes to
he'll
stand.
probably have 7 guitars by the end of 2024. So.
Yeah, we were looking at the gear before the show started last night, and there were like 2 amps in that corner of the stage. I was like, oh, I bet you Peter just has, an amp for the clav and an amp for his guitar. I forgot about Jeff's guitar. So one of them was a Peter amp for clav and guitar, and one of them was a Jeff amp. Well, set break vibes for both of you. How are you guys feeling? Any expectations for set 2? Matt, let's start with you.
Sure. I didn't move from my spot for the entire set break. So they allowed people to go in and out of the venue, but it's tiny and people love to push up. We had a few small little tussles during the first set around me, which was fun. And Peter kind of talked about it before he started the second set. So that was fun. So yeah, it was great vibes. People were like, oh my God, we get another set. Someone said that it was only one set. I was like, there's no way that they just rented out the Troubadour for that. So yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. Harry, what about you?
Very similar vibe. I also was like, I'm glued to my spot, not leaving, and also a few little tussles around me that eventually calmed down. But yeah, just being in such a small place and some fans, definitely got tense. But yeah, just the excitement getting to everybody, I guess. I don't know. That's what you get with a club show and a band that big. But no, great vibes. And honestly, it was kind of weird because I had lower expectations coming into this show. Just because I was like, I saw the Stanford set list. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm meaning to, but I saw the set list. I was like, holy shit, like that's gold. I was like, what else do they even have? So after the first set, I was like, well, shoot, I'm happy. Like whatever they do is like, I think I'll just be happy with the show. So yeah, everybody was feeling good. Everybody was excited. There was a rumor that, John Mayer was going to show up because somebody heard Ship of Fools being sound checked, which was valid. I was like, okay, maybe. So there's some excitement there. Obviously didn't happen yet. It's going to happen. Make it happen, John, hopefully sometime. But yeah.
Yeah.
You have to wonder about all that. I mean, there's a lot like really wrapped up in this John Mayer business, which is, Mayer's from Connecticut, not too far from where those guys grew up. So there's a connection there. There's also the connection of they went to Berkeley, like not too far apart from each other. And having lived in Boston at the time, Berkeley students, not fans of John Mayer at the time.
I was going to say, also,
can't speak for Goose.
Goose went to Berkeley like a decade after John Mayer.
They did like
at least I would think.
Yeah,
like about 8 years.
You know how old people are?
I do know how old people are. I can do math. We've already been over this today,
yes,
Ryan. I'm capable of doing the math, and you are not.
I do not do
math. In any case, point being, not big fans of Mayer around here. Like a lot of folks just not loving that Mayer guy.
Well, but we can speculate all day.
This is pre Den Company. This is
so yeah. So like another who knows now?
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into set 2 here. First,
wait.
songs.
Before we dive into set 2, I want to
yes.
talk about these scuffles, like in the crowd. They're like legit, like aggro dudes, like trying to like make space.
So
it was
it was women. Yeah.
Pardon my assumption.
No. I mean, I'll use they. I don't know if which way they decide, but
Okay.
they were right behind me, and they were trying to. It was packed. There were a lot of people that were like 6'6", 6'7" around her, and she was like, "I just need a little bit of room," because everyone was trying to push forward. And then she started dancing with her elbows, and she pushed
Oh.
someone,
Yikes.
and it was de-escalated, but unfortunately, it was not great.
Right on. So these shows like remind
You don't wanna
folks
get
who
into
aren't used to
controversy.
club shows
Yeah.
that like you have to give up some space in a club show. We were joking about this yesterday, where I was just like saying to a friend of ours, friend of the pod, Adam, who was at the show, where it was just like, man, you are about to be reminded that you are way too old for club shows, and this is the result where people are just
That's
like
it.
demanding space in a club. Like, you're not going to get it, especially at a super sold place. But
Yep.
sorry, let's talk about the second set music.
Yes, let's dive in here. So Creatures, Shamma, Sinnerman. Let's start with you, Harry. What do you think of these three?
Creatures was a good high energy opener. It started, it was more of a slower build. And yeah, they immediately got into a really good groove. Peter had started out with the synth in the jam, and then he kind of moved to like a very echoey piano sound, which was cool. And Rick was slowly building it, and then not so slowly building it, then just hopping right in and just shredding on it. So this was definitely like Rick shred moment. Rick was going nuts, and I felt like the Creature should have gone longer. It could have gone longer. I felt like it was a premature Shamma transition, but not complaining about the transition. Transition was super smooth. A and B, Creatures into Shamma is awesome. So like I wasn't upset. I was just like, man, they were in a good space there, so could have used some more of that. And yeah, Shamma was another big sing along moment, and everybody was very happy.
There you go. Matt, your thoughts here? Oh well,
Matt's not a fan of the Creature Shamma.
No,
Yeah.
he does not like it.
Just
He does
like,
not like it.
I'm out.
I'm wondering. I wanted to hear from him if Sinnerman hit as hard as it did at SPAC. I didn't hear Peter commenting on the dance party this time. But but Sinnerman is just such a great song. It's an amazing cover. Oh, there he is. We were worried, Matt. We were worried that you like really didn't like Creatures Shamma. Like that's why you left as soon as I asked for your opinion.
That's actually no. It was great. I agree with Harry. I think I love Shamma. Could have done with another like 10, 15 minutes of Creatures and just let it rock.
Yeah.
But the Shamma into what was it, Sinnerman? That was the bee's knees. I don't think I've said that in about 15 years, but it was the bee's knees.
That's pretty good. It's good. Sinnerman hit as hard as SPAC. Yeah, nice.
I think so. It was maybe it's just the capacity and feeling like we were back in like European clubs. It hit. The stack was right on top of my head. So you could feel and hear everything. It was great.
Yeah, nice. Then we get Angborg up next. Love to see this one popping up again so soon after SPAC. Hopefully that means it'll be in more regular rotation. Neil's probably happy, though I guess you don't care as much anymore because you've seen it.
And crossed it off the list now, but thanks for, I guess you're welcome for bringing back Angborg because it hadn't been played in forever. So to everybody who wanted to hear an Angborg, Harry, like I'm sure that was your first Angborg.
It was.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Please
really
thank
nice
Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Harry, yeah.
I don't know if you guys understand the context here, but so it is the one Goose original I had not yet heard after, I don't know, a whole bunch of shows I've seen. And I like tweeted about it because like Ryan has been holding this over my head for a very, very, very long time.
I've seen 5 Angborgs now.
Yeah, and I'd seen 0. So I tweeted about it and I was like, for the love of all that is holy, please just play this song, and tag the band. And then they played it. which is amazing. I actually think it was a coincidence and they did not do it for me, but
It's true.
I will take credit for it. So
Happily,
yeah,
until
I will
somebody
happily take
says
credit for it.
otherwise.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, Angbor is just like a dance party. Like, I think it's just at this point, it's like you're getting the vibes, everything's going great. And yeah, Angborg crushes.
Yep.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything to add there from you guys before we keep going here? So Everything Must Go comes up next. Another nice little jam in here. Matt, your thoughts?
Like I said before, I kind of was locking eyes with Peter and Jeff just based on my angle, and I was singing louder than you were at most shows, Ryan, during Everything Must Go. So
I'm proud of you.
I was very happy. Yeah,
I'm proud of you. I love it.
Great.
Harry?
Dude, this was the highlight of the show for me. I thought that this Everything Must Go was ridiculously good. Like, yeah, I'm quality over quantity, and I just thought that the quality in this jam was unreal. It's first of all, it's such a beautiful song. I'm a huge fan of the song, so it's just really always welcome to hear. But then the jam was darker than than the song kind of leads on, but it totally worked, and that's something that they've done before. But yeah, it was just heavy. Rick really was digging into the notes, playing slower, but yeah, it was just dark, and Peter had some eerie piano. It was really cool. At one point, for like a brief second, Peter had the like whoa thing going on that you hear in like Ghost by Fish. Yeah, like the
Like a little just like loop kind of deal,
studio. Yeah, but that lasted like a second. I got a little bit excited there. But yeah, just the way Peter and Rick were playing off of each other. This was like peak Goose improv, in my opinion. And Peter's really got into the level where he knows how to compliment Rick perfectly. And this was like golden example of this. Like he was just, the two of them were playing off of each other so well. And Rick was, doing a lot of unorthodox stuff, a lot of stuff that, wouldn't really necessarily work into a normal jam. And then Peter was adding on to that. So the fact that Peter is at that level to like add on to that and further, that was just amazing. And then Trevor was just keeping a fast two fingers, playing just steady notes. And I felt like this show, there were a lot of drones where like Peter would set a drone and then they would have that going. So there's just a lot of sound. And this was another one where there's a drone. And yeah,
awesome.
Then Cotter pushed it into like really high momentum. And then last couple minutes, just a really bright jam, really epic peak. And yeah, easily the highlight of, this into Ship of Fools highlighted.
Yes, I mean Ship of Fools. I was so excited to see that. This is like, I'm now blanking on what other song or something like No California, where they like play it with Arabelo, and you're like, wow, this song is awesome. Obviously, No California doesn't have the history that a Grateful Dead song does. But like, yeah, I was just so excited to see this on the set list this morning. And just because Rick does such a good Jerry. And I can't wait to hear this in soundboard, get the full effect. But yeah, what did you guys? How did you guys react when they went into Ship of Fools?
I screamed a little bit, like loudly, but also it's
you were having
what's kind of great. What's great now is that like Jeff is feeling comfortable on the guitar, so Peter is locked in on keys for this. Jeff is playing the Bobby role on Ship of Fools. It's great. And
yeah,
Cotter was great, but honestly, Rick's voice singing a Grateful Dead song is fantastic.
Yeah, I think your point about Jeff doing the Bobby role, I think his style of playing guitar is very influenced by Bobby, whether Jeff will say that or not. When he talks about playing guitar. But I think that there's a lot of similarities. If you listen to the Big Modern from LA, you can hear him throwing in these very, like Bobby-like chords in the jam. And I love that he's been getting higher in the mix as the year goes on. I feel like now when he's playing, I'm not wondering what sound he's making. as much, like he's actually like audible. No, which is good. Like I've wanted that all year. It's like Jeff's playing guitar. I want to hear what he's playing because I know that he's adding something to this jam. And even if you go back as far as like Chateau Jam, you have to listen in headphones to be able to properly hear Jeff, but you can hear him and he's doing these very like kind of like awkward chords, like very Bobby-like. And it just adds a cool dimension to the jam. So yeah, I totally agree with your point there. Matt, Harry, what did you think about Ship of Fools?
Well, for starters, for the record, don't think I heard Jeff all show, unless it was really quiet. And maybe that was because I was right in between Rick and Peter. So maybe if it was like back in the room, where the sound has a little more space to even out, or in the balcony, especially getting like the house speakers, maybe I would have been able to hear it more. But I was getting, just a lot of the sound that was directly in front of me. And yeah, I could barely hear him on bongo or congas. I could barely hear his guitar. So that was less of my focus the entire show. But Ship of Fools, like it wasn't long at all. They didn't jam it in really any way. I don't even remember. I'm sure Rick took a solo, but I don't even remember. And just the thing that I think made this so perfect, what Matt touched on, is Rick's vocals are so captivating. And like, this is a perfect dead song selection for him to sing. Like it absolutely, I mean, just beautiful. Like it was such a, touching moment for everybody in the crowd. And I had a revelation too during Ship of Fools, as like, everybody, obviously the whole jam thing, this whole community started with the Dead. And at most jam shows you go to, with the exception of Fish, is like you see more Dead shirts in the crowd than the band playing or anybody else by far. And I looked around me and it was all Goose shirts, but people singing the Dead tunes. And I was like, that's so freaking awesome that like Goose have gotten to the point where like, yeah, it's not like Dead stuff. It's like, these are all real Goose fans. Like they're not coming because of the Dead. They're not coming because they like just jam bands. Like they're coming because they like Goose. And I was like, that's amazing. So it's cool that they have enough separation from that where they can play Dead tunes. And no, Ship of Fools was beautiful. I mean, yeah. God, Rick's vocals are like, I hope that one stays.
You can't say enough about them. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, this particular one too, I've talked about this a bunch before. You know what I'm about to say. But so like, if you go back and you listen to the Solarium show from, I forget the date it was in April of 2020, right in the height of the pandemic. But that recording of Ship of Fools is the thing that 100% sold me on Goose. I was like, holy shit.
And it's a Rabel. Yeah.
And it's, well, yeah, I got like 100% sold on Rick in that moment,
there you go.
where I was like, holy crap. I mean, these guys are incredible. I mean, the singing is just insane. And for some reason, this tune, like Rick is just on it. I don't know. I mean, there are a variety of Grateful Dead covers that they do. This one is far and away the best. I'd always wondered if they were going to cover it as Goose instead of Arabelo. And here it is. So you guys are so lucky, because I don't think they do a single Grateful Dead song better than they do this one.
100% agree.
Amazing. And then the show ends off. We get Pancakes to close the set and Slow Ready Dawn in the encore. Last few tunes here. Harry, what do you think?
Yeah, Pancakes, just, a really good type 1 full band jam, like with typical Rick shred, Rick peaks, just awesome. And then great encore. Slow Ready into Dawn is unreal. Like they have to do that pairing more because it works so fucking well. Like it hit so hard, and Dawn to end a show is perfect. It's like one of their best closers. I think one of the best encore songs. But I like, I like having the transition for sure. Like I wouldn't necessarily just want Dawn on its own. So I was super happy. Slow Ready into Dawn, like I said, it was perfect way to end the show. Really good. I saw that on the original set list. I got a picture of it here. The encore was actually supposed to be Ship of Fools, SOS, which implies Dawn ending still. and Slow Ready was supposed to be the second set closer. So they switched some things around. Good call on them because I think the show flowed really well. I would have taken SOS for sure. I mean, who wouldn't have? But
You need
to
the
get
full
Slow
thing.
exactly. But to get Slow Ready into Dawn, it didn't feel like Dawn was out of place, where I kind of feel like it does when they just go into it,
Like from a hard stop.
Exactly, from a hard stop.
Yeah.
So it really works well coming out of Slow Ready. Like the transition, I was like, oh, yeah. So it was epic. It was epic.
Awesome.
Great way to
Love
end
it.
the night.
Matt? Let me guess. You were excited and you danced.
No. I was standing next to our friend Brian, and we both screamed "Dawn" as a song, louder than necessary.
Yes.
Ryan, you're just gonna have to deal with it from now on, especially because they closed with it. I think the change of bringing Ship of Fools up into the second set and then having Slow Ready and then Dawn there was great. As you all know, Bert was front row on the rail up top, and he was, I think, sobbing and dancing at the same time, listening to Slow Ready, which, was fantastic. And, fantastic way to end the show. Dawn is, I think, one of their best songs. So, yeah, that's all I got.
I've always said that SOS is one of my favorite Goose songs. It's so good. Yeah, great way to end the show.
I mean,
Neil,
it's so funny. It's so funny that you said SOS because
Neil, any further thoughts before we move on to
Hilarious.
talk a little bit about this Mexico announcement?
No, man. I was gonna say a thing or two, but I think it's all been said already, Ryan. So we should move on and talk about Mexico.
Well, let's talk about this. Viva El Gonzo just announced today. I'll read out the lineup, and then we can talk about it a little bit. We got 3 nights of Goose. They did confirm 2 sets each night. The War on Drugs, Tycho,
Yes.
Dawes, LPGOB, La Lom, Pigeons, Frasco, Sierra Hull, Dogs in a Pile, Eggy, Mahali, which I saw, I think it was just a Mahali, him, and a saxophone player, Cordovas, DJ Marb Menthals, DJ Rivka Ruth, the El Ganzo Collective, which seems to be a mystery, Shamans, and Everything Here is Alive, with late night performances, local excursions, and pop-up sets. Hopefully one of those is Rebelo. But man, this is exciting. This is like, I think when this was announced, we were just figuring it was going to be 3 days of Goose. Maybe you get an Rebelo thing here. But this is cool that they're putting on a full-blown festival down in Baja in May. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to get out there. Also cool thing, it's not like, the Fish or Dead & Company or Dave Matthews or whatever Mexico ones where you have to stay on site and you have to be at the all-inclusive. All the hotel packages are kind of spread out around San Jose del Cabo, which is really interesting. But, I'm curious. Neil, I'll start with you. What do you think of the lineup?
I mean, the lineup is sick. I think people have, as with every festival, people have like problems with it. So like, people are going to the internet to list their grievances. But I'm like really stoked about a bunch of these bands. And I think it all is just going to fit really, really nicely. Like, I love the fact that Tycho is playing this. I think that's like amazing to me. Like, I'm going to see Tycho around here like real soon. So I think that's also an interesting choice. I never would have thought the two of them together would be a thing. War on Drugs, I just saw like a couple of weeks ago at Great Woods with the National. That was sick. And so I expect it to be like a pretty sick show. The drummer for War on Drugs is a Wilton guy, grew up with them, or not grew up with them. He's a little bit older, but still. So, he's a Connecticut guy. There's the Connecticut connection there. And so that part's pretty sick. What else am I excited about? Eggy? Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's super exciting. And
Hopefully
then, the idea of like having like Eggy and Goose kind of in the same place together. Like, I hope there are some collaborations again. There's a long history between those two bands of playing together. So I think that part is pretty amazing. I'm excited for them that they are playing with Pigeons. They're, have been friends for a really long time. There was once, briefly right before the pandemic, a Pigeons / Goose supergroup that existed. The name is escaping me, but it was Jeremy from Pigeons.
Yeah.
And Gator.
I think it's called Birds of a Feather, maybe.
Birds of a Feather is what they were called. And that band was going to be sick. So there's going to be a little bit of that action. I'm sure they even play.
Well-
They had gigs. So
Neil's breaking up a little bit, but what I'm sure he meant to say there is that band was supposed to be Jeremy and Gator from Pigeons, plus I believe Peter and Trevor, which would be sick. And hopefully that happens. And there are collaborations, and it's going to be sick. It sounded like you went through a bit of a voice modulator there, so I'm hoping I decoded that properly. Harry, let's throw it to you. What are your thoughts? Initial look at this lineup.
That was a good translation, Ryan.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna go. Like, I can't afford it, but it looks cool. I'm not like immediately blown away by the supporting acts. Really stoked for Eggy. I think that they're so awesome and one of the coolest like younger jam bands in the scene right now. So that's dope. I just, out of the folks that weren't mentioned, I think Sierra Hull's awesome. She is an excellent mandolin player and just really talented. I hope that maybe Goose tap into some of their lesser displayed country Americana roots, bluegrass roots, and bring her out, because like a
Bring
sit
her
in
on
there
flow
would be
down. Just get
Dude.
Sierra on a flow down.
that exactly. And like, I've seen crazier things. Like, I saw Corey Wallin, and Corey brought her out and did like a few songs together, and you wouldn't think that his genre of like funk jazz would fit in with mandolin, yet totally made it work. So
Yes, it did,
that's
yeah.
cool. And then a quick like little, if you guys don't know Cordovas, they're an awesome country Americana rock act that's been around for quite a bit. I first saw them when I was 11. They opened for Jackie Green, and they are really just talented guys. So go see Cordovas if you don't know much about them. They're really cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were opening for Dwayne Betts on the tour with Jeff last year, and I think Jeff sat in with them a bunch. But I think that's a connection there. Matt, what are your thoughts here?
I'm pumped, dude. Mexico. We knew it was gonna happen. I was waiting to see if they were gonna allow us to just take the ride and buy the ticket and like not have like housing and things. I'm
Matt will be
excited to
sleeping
have...
on the beach. Is what
No,
he's
no,
saying.
no, 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 no. I will.
Nope.
I will be one with the people of Mexico. I will be having tacos, margaritas, probably sipping one too many Modelos somewhere, and then I will see a show. Also, the fact that, I mean, just with the lineup in general, I was assuming that it was going to kind of be like Fred, where there would be some 11:11 people and some other folks, but they've been, since Fred the festival, they've been playing with so many other people that I'm excited to see sit-in or two. I don't think Arabelo is going to play unless there's a special set. I think, again, this is just me speculating, and I have no idea. I think they're going to just have a tour probably early on next year somewhere. I have no idea. Hopefully in my backyard.
That'd be nice.
Specifically in the Northeast. That would be amazing. But ultimately, Mexico's going to be great. I'm not sure about the packages. It seems reasonable. So do you go for VIP? Do you go for Super Ted? Who knows? I'm sure the band is happy I'm speaking about it right now. They're like, buy the most stuff. But,
buy the ticket. Take.
I mean,
the ride.
honestly, I know it's expensive, but $450 for that many people over 3 days, or 4 days,
Sure.
3 days, it is great.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a blast. We're gonna have fun down there. Only 7 months until the Gonzo.
Yeah, you have that much time to get your beach bod ready. Start lifting now.
Get spry.
Yeah, get spry. Do some crunches.
It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
And if you're glamping, you may get your beach bod just by sweating off weight after the first night.
Well, when you get stung by a scorpion too, like maybe it'll just like shed some pounds. Who the hell knows? I mean, it's just all bets are off if you glamp on the.
Well,
the
there we
beach in
go.
Mexico.
There we go. Well, that's our little Mexico preview here for you guys. Obviously, we'll talk more about that in successive episodes as things happen closer to May. But there's lots of time, lots of Goose in between now and then. Of course, And we will be back on Saturday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern to talk about Friday's set at Mempho Fest, which is being streamed on Nugs. So that's exciting. A lot of different genres at that festival. So I'm really curious to see what Goose does. Unfortunately, they only have 90 minutes. So probably not a lot, but hopefully we get an Electric Forest situation where they throw a 25-minute jam in a 90-minute set. That would be great. Also, if you're watching right now or you're watching in the next couple of days, look out on Friday for the mail sack because we will be beginning our fall tour recap recording on Friday. So watch out for the mail sack post because we want you all to get involved. We're going to open up the sack. It's a lot of shows to talk about, so it's going to be a big sack. Anyway, thank you, Matt and Harry, for joining us today. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you in a few days.